But it was a conversation. And then, LeBron saying what he's saying, obviously want to, team up and then, the year that we win a championship. So I think Bron kind of spoke it into existence and, it happened. And I'm glad it happened. For me, selfish reasons. I want to be a champion and able to do that my first year teaming up with him. But who would have known? Who knows what would have happened with Paul in Indiana? He's another great player. Especially when he was in Indiana, he was definitely tough to guard. He's still tough to guard today. But I think that was so long ago that we played each other many times. Since then. But you always think about what could have happened. Will my career be a lot different than it is now?
Listen, we shouldn't be surprised. And when it comes to tampering and everyone looking into what GMs are doing and organizations, the players are the ones that are always talking, Brett. So we're not surprised by this, right?
No, not at all. It's a big no-no.
They're putting super teams together.
Oh, for sure. It's a big no-no for teams to contact players or agents ahead of time. We just saw the Milwaukee Bucks. They lost a second-round draft pick for kind of tampering with Bogdanovich. Players can do whatever they want, and I don't think they're supposed to. I think the NBA could enforce this rule. Good luck. Good luck. You're going to tell LeBron, hey, you can't talk to this guy. If you see him in Vegas during Summer League, it's against the rules, LeBron. Keep to yourself. No, players are going to talk all the time. It's not going to be enforced. But when teams do it, that's when you get into a little murky area and you can be in a trouble spot there.
Yeah, you remember KD and Kyrie just, signing right away in Brooklyn. Yeah. Obviously, that's right. Planned. Yeah. Paul George signs contract in Oklahoma. The next year, he's going to play with Kawhi in LA. It's just this way it is, guys.
Yeah, the players have the ability to talk with each other. They have the ability to, evaluate their own situations, evaluate what could be similar situations for players of their caliber. And if you look at Paul George and Anthony Davis in that scenario, you're talking about two smaller market teams that for a variety of reasons were just having difficulty getting over the hump, but also, too, difficulty bringing in players of their caliber because, by and large, players of that caliber want to play in bigger markets. It's not always the case. We just saw Giannis commit to Milwaukee. And from everything we heard, all things being equal, Anthony Davis would have been willing to commit to New Orleans if he really thought that there was a possibility to be able to win a championship. But once it became clear that wasn't the case, usually these guys end up gravitating towards larger markets. And it's been that way for a long time, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
By the way, it would have made that Indiana team pretty good.
Yeah, you got that right.
Oh, yeah.
Oof. But you're in Indiana, and you wake up every day in the winter, and it's, minus 6 degrees. It's tough. It's tough.
Hey, Brett's throwing a little shade at the Hoosiers.
I went to school in Wisconsin, so I'm familiar with Midwest weather. Believe me, you'd be happier out here weather-wise.
Is this just Big Ten stuff coming out, Brez?
Yeah, this is some rivals.
Is that really what this shot was?
Yeah, you get guilty as charged.
All right, still to come. The NBA is in a different scenario this season. The league had 0 positive COVID-19 tests in the bubble through the playoffs, which was a huge achievement. This time around, there's no bubble, but there's a vaccine on its way. In an interview with ESPN, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver made it clear the players won't be getting preferential treatment.
No, there's no way we would ever jump the line in any form whatsoever. And for the most part, because our players are young and healthy without some sort of comorbidity, they will not be a high priority for vaccinations. There are some other members of the NBA community working, on court who are older and will have a higher priority to get the vaccine. But as I said, we will, I think, very likely be part of some public service campaigns. We've already talked to the CDC and other governmental agencies about that, encouraging people to get vaccinated when it is appropriate. Now that we're going to be in essence, 30 different markets, or and completely outside of a bubble, there's no doubt we're going to have issues. We know that even people who are following all of our rules exactly as intended, that when you're living at home, you have children in school, you have family members who are out and about, no one is immune from this virus. We saw it when our players first came into training camp just a few weeks ago. we had essentially 50 positive cases just to begin training camp. And this is not necessarily because anyone engaged in reckless activity. It's because they're living their lives like most other Americans are.
NBA is doing its best for the safety of the players and the game staff. And listen, we're in uncharted waters once again here. And after watching the NBA in the bubble, the NFL going through it, college sports, football, basketball, we're seeing the testing getting better. Brez, are you confident for the NBA this time around?
Quietly confident. I mean, we kind of got spoiled by the bubble.
Yeah.
We weren't the guys there for 3 months, like the team and the
That was
staffers and the
remarkable,
coaches.
right? That's a special circumstance.
That won't happen again. Maybe the NBA does do one for the playoffs several months from now. Can't predict that. But as of now, there's no plans for anything like that. So what you have now is a sort of return to normalcy. Teams are going to travel. They're going to be playing games in arenas. There will not be fans at Staples Center for the foreseeable future. That's obvious. But, once you have travel in the equation, you're no longer in a non-permeable bubble. You open yourself up to possibilities of people getting sick and games being postponed or even suspended or canceled. We just don't know what's going to happen.
Are you confident, Andy? And I'm sure you're confident how the NBA will handle it because they have every scenario ready to go.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I am confident that the season will be able to complete. I think there's obviously going to be positive tests. I mean, these guys are a part of worldwide society, and there are positive tests all over this global pandemic. But I trust the NBA to take these protocols very seriously. I trust them to have thought out a lot of different scenarios. You heard Adam Silver talk about how they're looking to have players out in front when it comes to encouraging vaccination. We've already seen, just leading into this segment right now, the Lakers, different players reminding you, wear your mask. If you want to return back to normalcy, do the things that are being asked of you. And I think that really reflects the league as a whole.
All right, guys, moving forward, Clippers and Lakers both made some big moves this
those nights, just how special they are and what it'll be like for those guys tomorrow night.
Yes, I mean, I think as you stated, although it will be different, I think it's still a once-in-a-lifetime night. You don't get to experience a lot in your career and in your lifetime. And I think probably the most difficult part for the players will be that their families, their children, their loved ones, their spouses, significant others can't be there to feel the emotion that they are still probably going to feel as they experience the ring ceremony. So it's different. I think the celebration, the fans, the banner, it'll come in due time, but it'll still be a special night for the players.
So obviously there's still going to be a game played. What is the key to not having an emotional letdown, a mental letdown, just in terms of that excitement and then having to refocus, lock in to start the season the way you want to?
Yeah, I think what helps, honestly, is that they're playing the Clippers.
There you go. It's built in.
And I do believe that helps personalize the game in a different way. Most of the time on ring night, you're not necessarily playing your crosstown rival that has also championship expectations, and that this game means a little bit more than just this opening night thing that you can throw away. People are going to put a lot of stock into this game, whether it means anything or not. So I think they kind of have a built-in reason why they're probably going to still try to come out and shake off the ring ceremony and try to win the game.
Do you think they will still be damp? It's one of my favorite things that you talked about in the preseason, damp from having just won the title not too long ago.
I think a little bit.
Yeah. That'll still be there.
Yeah, the championship residue never really leaves. and I think they'll still have some. Even in that last preseason game, the way they started the game, that's championship residue. It's just like, look, man, let's get this over with. I'm ready to get to what counts. So they'll have some of that, but I think the new players they've added, those guys that don't have that residue, it's going to be good to have those guys to remind them of what this is all about and is trying to get back to the top of that mountain again.
That's where I want to transition to. We'll talk about the stars in a second, but the new guys that they did add, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, Dennis Schroeder, Wes Matthews specifically. What you saw of them a little bit there in the preseason, what excites you about them adding to the roster that's already here?
I think the main thing that excites me about all of the new guys is a level of grit and physical toughness that they all play the game with. Not necessarily specialists or somebody that just shoots threes or someone that, just is a facilitator. All four of these guys get after it. They're physical. They play tough basketball. I think Schroeder has an opportunity to be a guy that can get downhill and get to the rim and finish plays for himself, make others better. Wes Matthews is going to be, I think, an underrated addition to this group. We won't always hear his name a lot, but when we look back at the games, we'll see him doing a lot of little things that make a difference. Marc Gasol's a champion, a winner, a great passer, really smart, high basketball IQ. And then Montrezl Harrell's going to bring, I think, just that passion, the dog, the fight, the competitive spirit. So I love those type of additions as opposed to just adding guys that are there maybe just to ride on the coattails of guys already here. Like, these guys are here to make noise and make a difference.
One thing I always appreciate about you is that you always have your coaching cap on. And we talked about it a little bit during the preseason, the options, the good problems that Frank Vogel has on his hands. Can you shed a little perspective on that?
Yeah, as a coach, it's you're basically a handyman or a handy woman, and you have a toolbox. And when you open that box and there's only 2 or 3 tools in there, it's not a lot of things you can fix. Yeah. But when you can open that box and there's a tool for every situation you're going to find yourself in, that's a confident, handy person right there. And I think Frank Vogel's in that position this year where whatever the game dictates, big lineup, small lineup, offensive lineup, defensive lineup, speed lineup, size lineup, he has everything. And what makes his job tough but good and easier is having LeBron James and Anthony Davis, not their talent, but who they are as men, their character, their integrity. They seem to find a way to encourage and invite their teammates to, like, it's fun to be on their team. The chemistry, the way they all buy in with each other, to have all those tools and they're clanking and not mixing well with each other, that's not good. But these guys enjoy being in the toolbox together, putting work in together. And I think Frank Vogel's going to enjoy having these options this year. One
final point when it comes to the superstars. We saw what they could do in just one season together. How much better can they be in their second?
That's going to be the fun part. I think that's the thing that, I'll be most intrigued by is how special do they want to make this season, right? It's easy to just kind of go through the motions, win enough games to still be relevant or still be one of the best teams, and then just try to hurry up and be the best at a certain time. But that's not what Kobe Bryant was about. Right? That's not what the great ones are about. I don't think LeBron has been about that in his career necessarily. Like, you're not guaranteed to get to next month or 3 months or 4 months from now. Only thing you can control is opening night. And if they can